everybody. I'm your host, Caden Johnson, and today we are back with another special
Wait a second, Caden Johnson. You got so excited telling me your name. You didn't even tell me where we're at. Like, hey, this is the Growing Up Garage podcast, and then let's talk about the secondary thing. Like, yeah, you're neat, but really, this is all about Growing Up Garage, right?
Okay, and that is my second host.
Oh, second host. I'm just the second host. I'm just the other guy over here in the corner hanging out with this little man right here. But he is right. We do have a very special guest, right?
Yes. So we have, drumroll please.
Do we do like a, no, wait, where's the most appropriate one for this would be, not that one. Here, we're going to get this right. There it is. There it is. Some engine revving, because why is the engine revving so important for this special guest today?
Because it's the one and only Michael Thing.
Yeah, there it is. So now we can hear the applause. Yeah. So Michael Thing, welcome to the Growing Up Garage podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, definitely excited. We are longtime fans. This guy just absolutely loves watching you race currently. So first of all, let's talk about who you are and where you live and that kind of fun stuff. So
yeah, let's start it. So I'm Michael Thing. I'm from Campo, California. Grew up in that area, San Diego area, and I started racing cars when I was 5 years old.
5 years old?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Before me.
Before you.
Sounds familiar at a young age.
You didn't get to start till you were 6, though. Dude, you're such a late, you're washed up now, you know?
No, I'm washed up now.
So that means you are 19 years old, going on 20, you know, so that is quite the racing career, having fun doing it. I mean, you've obviously loved doing it. You're still doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love this sport. I mean, I grew up I started out racing at 5 years old, and I, started out in the Mini Dwarf and, obviously went through the classes like, junior sprints, and then, we finally moved up to the big track and a pony stock. And then after the pony stock, we just immediately went to the modified. I knew what my goals were, and I wanted to immediately get to the modified because that was, one of my main goals is trying to compete with the big guys. And I always watched, like, my friends growing up, they were racing modifieds too. So it was, like, a big dream for mine to do that. And I got in there at a young age. I started racing modifieds at 13 years old, which was pretty young at the time. And I wasn't even able to race. I was just practicing on the track, on open night or whatever. And then I had a lot of fun. It was great.
Well, and that is good, but let's keep the rewind going. And we're going to go all the way back because you mentioned this in the beginning of this, that you started at the age of 5 racing Mini Dwarfs. And so in a sportsman Mini Dwarf, I'm sure that's what Caden. How did you like the sportsman Mini Dwarf class, Caden?
It was, I don't know, like, I like going faster now. It's always fun to go fast, but it was nice starting off in a lower class, and there was never, like, people, like, flying by you.
I don't know. We used to call you Tortuga Blanco in the day because he was so slow. So I think everybody was flying by you. But then how did you do starting off? Like, do you remember back, like, if you were to look at, like, your first year of doing that? Like, when you think back to that, do you have any highlights, lowlights that you can even think? I mean, was it just all fun or was it frustrating? And I'm sure your dad is a huge part of this.
Yeah.
So then I'm sure you get the frustration or happiness on his end too. But tell me about, like, those beginning years of, you racing.
Yeah, totally. So, first you started off by racing. He was just doing it for fun on the weekends. And as soon as when I turned 5 years old, he got me into a Mini Dwarf. It was super awesome. I had a blast, like, starting out, and I was just, like, remember having fun and, like, just doing it for fun. I didn't think it was, like, serious or anything.
Right.
And, so we just did it on every other weekend at Verona, that was our weekend thing we did. And we just go out as a family, me and my mom and my sister. We would always, go out there and just have some fun. And, yeah, I remember just, like, the first, like, few years in that class, because they didn't have, like, sportsmen or, like, separate groups.
Okay, so it was
that.
all just a Mini Dwarf.
One Mini Dwarf, yeah.
Okay.
So I was like, you race what you brought, kind
of. Right, okay.
And so you were competing with all these older kids, too. So there was no age group, so I was, like, one of the younger ones going into this thing. So, I mean, the first, like, few years of racing Mini Dwarfs was, like, a learning curve, like, totally, like, but I was just having fun with it. I didn't really know any better because I'm, like, just little, you're growing up into this class and you're just, like, having fun going in circles, so.
And that's, a big part of it. I think everybody starts off just really having fun. I think for us, it was, he loved driving a Power Wheels, and it was what's the next step that he could go into it, which was good. And then, starting off in that Mini Dwarf, it does become fun. And then you're like, okay, now I really want to start learning this. So did your dad have any clue as to, now I'm starting to learn all the setup and all this crazy things that I thought, I'm not going to lie. I thought, you're going in a circle. How hard could it be? You're turning left, like go left. How difficult is that?
Yeah.
And there's so much more to it. Huh, buddy?
Yeah. There's so much more. Like, you got to set up the car right if you want it to go, fast. Like, it's not just, oh, you're turning left and you're hitting the gas pedal. It's a lot more to racing and circle track.
And I think that that's one thing that you're learning now is he's getting to the age where he can start learning about, hey, this is what we're going to change, and how is the car reacting when we make those changes, which you start learning then as you become more, familiar with the car. But at that young age, the whole premise of, kind of what we're doing is the education through experience. I'm sure you got to spend countless days in the garage, hanging out with your dad, working on cars, or was it not at all?
It was probably at a younger age. I probably didn't care as much about it as I did now.
Okay.
Because back in the day, like, I didn't really care, like, about any of that. Like, I'm just,
okay.
Goofing
you just want to drive.
I'm just goofing off, wanted to drive, hop in the car. I was just sort of arrive and drive back then. But,
okay.
Obviously now things have definitely changed. It's more of me being the leader now, which is, I'm super grateful for, obviously. But my dad has taught me a lot. Like, spending time with him in, like, just the garage and, like, now we don't even have a garage. We work out in the gravel,
You're right.
We work right in the dirt.
The cars are too big to fit in the garage now.
We don't even have a garage. We don't have anywhere to store it. But, like, just spending time with him working on the cars, like, back in the day, like, helped me to where I am now. Like, all this experience that I built up since I was 5 to, leading up till I'm 19 now is just, like, I use all of it that I've learned from back in the day just, to use it to now is, like, what I do.
And that's, and so right there, let's touch on that for a minute, because it's just so, the impact of that, you think you weren't even really learning. It wasn't like you were going to school. It was just fun. Arrive, drive, show up, have a good time. So it was an atmosphere in which you were learning, but you didn't even realize how much you were really taking in over those years because it was just fun.
Exactly.
And then how that now goes to being like, oh my gosh, I actually learned a lot just hanging out in there, not really with the intention of, hey, you need to learn this, like it is when you go to school.
Right, exactly, yeah. My dad's never really been, like, the intention, like, to, really dive in and teach me something unless we actually need it. But really it was just, we show up to the we work in the garage, we show up to the racetrack, and we were just having so much fun as a family and just being there together. But I didn't notice is that, like, when we're just being together and he's, like, showing me what he's doing or, changing something on the car, right, is just, that's what added up all those things that, that led me today.
Now I got a question for you. What is your favorite racetrack and why?
My favorite racetrack? That's a tough one. That was a really tough question. I've been to, like, such good racetracks. So, like, Arizona Speedway was, like, super fun. I remember having a great time there every time I've been there. But I think my favorite one was probably one that was in South Dakota. I think it's called I-30 Speedway.
Okay.
And it's so funny because I went there for the Boone Super Nationals.
Okay.
And we went there a week before to go, test out all the tracks on the way. And I was there with one of my buddies, Troy Morris, and he was, we were out there on practice night. It was the day before the race, and then they ended up getting rained out the Saturday night. So I didn't even get to race the track, but I remember we were ripping the top and, skimming our quarter panels on the wall, and it was so fun.
And now, like, and I know that is also one of your most watched videos then on YouTube is that whole thing. So it's neat then that it's like, and we'll touch on this in a little bit, but just how when you don't even plan it, I think when you get into YouTube and all of the things that you try to do, it can be frustrating sometimes. And it's like, man, I wasn't even planning on this being a cool video, and it turned out to be like insanely awesome.
Yeah.
So now your home track is obviously Verona Speedway. That's where our home track as well. That's how we were introduced to each other. I know that we've been out to Kokopah several times together, even when you guys have raced, not having the best of luck that we've ever wanted in Kokomo, but still a good time. And what is your take on Kokomo Speedway, Caden?
It's a lot different from Verona. Like, it's a lot more banked, and it's smaller.
So it's less bank.
Oh.
Less bank at Kokomo. Yeah. It's more flat.
And you can't carry as much speed in the turn. Like, you have to, like, brake coming up to the turn, where Verona, you can hold your speed going into the turn, like, flat out.
And that's in the Mini Dwarf, because obviously, so now we're new to the junior sprint. So like you mentioned, that was your next class. So you went from a Mini Dwarf up to a junior sprint. And then how many years did you race the junior sprint for?
That's a tough one. I don't really remember exactly how many years. I think it was probably around.
Do you remember how old you were?
I think
maybe?
I started at like 9,
okay.
And I think I like moved out like a few years after that.
Okay.
Because I went from 13 years old is when it was like from 9 to 12. I got at 12 years old was I went to the pony stock.
Okay.
And then I only raced that for like maybe a half a season, and I went directly to the modified.
So now I wonder, because I swear nowadays you can't even go into like the pony stocks until you're 14. I want to say now it's not. I think they've moved up the ages as far as what you're able to do. And then I think when you're 14, it's just kind of like you can do anything. You could go into, a sprint car or,
right.
And of course we're not there yet, so I don't really know all of it as this guy just turned 10 years old. So then can you remember back anything into when you talk about like racing a junior sprint again, is there anything that you feel like you take away from that has even brought you into a bigger car?
Yeah, like experience-wise and skill-wise, the biggest takeaway I've learned from like little cars was they have such small motors. So the biggest thing that I knew is my dad taught me this is that momentum was key through all racetracks.
Oh, that sounds familiar, Caden. Can't let off the gas, Gas, little let off, more brake.
No coasting.
Yeah, no coasting.
You
can't win coasting. And the metaphor that I used for this is your brake pedals was think about as you jump.
Right.
Like you can only jump for a second until you come back to the ground. And I explained it to him. The pedals are the same way. Like you either are on the gas or on the brake, but there's almost no point when you should be off of both.
Right.
Like it's constantly like gravity.
Yes.
You're working those pedals with 2 feet just as you would try to defy gravity. It's maybe only for a second that you're, able to be off of the gas or jump. So that's my way to explain it to, any kids out there, wanting to learn. And I mean, that was the best way that I could explain it to him.
Yeah.
Like,
I love that.
There's no coasting, just like, it's gravity.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah, that's what the biggest thing in the modifieds now is like, we're never like coasting the car because, you drop off the bars or all these little tiny things. But yeah, you're either on the gas or you're on both, so
right.
You're dragging the brakes through the corner to carry that momentum.
Right there though, that's key. Dragging the brakes. Like so like when you're going into that turn, it's like you're full throttle, just giving it the brake to just have that car set up to take you through that turn.
Yeah, it's a big skill. It's called trail braking is what they actually call it. So when you enter the turn, you ease out of the gas and you ease into the brake. You never stab the brake.
Okay.
Because that cuts the car. You get the car upset. So you always ease into the brake and while easing out of the throttle. And that's what they call trail braking.
So I'm going to tell you, I would love to see a GoPro video of just pedals.
Yeah.
I mean, think about how neat that would be, like 2 GoPros set up in your car where it's like, hey, pedals, and you get to see how it changes it and what it does and just the foot reaction. I think that's something that would, help just kids being able to see that, even going, wow,
right.
I'm never off of it, or how it actually works. I mean, I've never seen a video like that, but
I'd love
throwing
to see
ideas out there, Maybe I got a Michael Thing video. We're working on the next one here.
You're right.
So yeah.
Now I got another question for you. Other than a modified, have you raced any other cars?
I have raced a lot of cars actually, but not lately. but definitely have raced a lot of cars. I tried a sprint car just like kind of recent. It was like last year.
Okay.
It was my first time trying a lightning sprint. It was so fun. I mean, those things are so fast.
Wild.
Absolutely wild. And it was wingless too.
Oh
so
my gosh. So even more.
I mean, it was another experience for me, sitting in this tiny little box. It's almost like sitting on like a tractor because the steering wheel's all set up different.
Yeah, like, and
it's
your pedals are like straight down.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's super weird. But it was a blast. It was so much fun.
And now, what track did you get to do that at?
That was at Verona.
Okay.
Yeah. So
on a practice night.
It was on a practice night. Yeah. It was just regular night, and it was all dry and stuff. But oh my gosh, the traction in those things is insane. I mean, they pull wheelies.
Right. So now, after doing that, any desire to kind of, or do you just love the modified class?
I've definitely dabbled in like thinking that like maybe I want to go to the sprint car way or stay in the late or go to late models later and stay with the modified. But it's a really tough question. I mean, really, it's just all about what you like, and really what comes down for me is like what I'm really good at naturally, and I've become really naturally good at modifieds. Those bigger, heavier cars is what I'm good at. So I decided to stay in my niche and just kind of hit the modified class and try to do the best I can.
And now, in traveling, I know that that's a big part of it too. What is the biggest race that you have gone to race your modified in?
That would be the Boone Super Nationals.
Okay.
Every year there's a race. It's in Boone, Iowa, and it's the Super Nationals. They host in the Speedway there, and that's the biggest race. I mean, there's like 500 plus modifieds there.
It's crazy.
And they're all trying to qualify for one race for the Saturday night. So they'll start on Tuesday usually, and they all race all week long to try to qualify and to get to the Saturday show. And there's only 40 cars that go out of 500. It's one of the hardest.
And now, did you make it when you went to it?
I didn't make the night show, but I've made like multiple main events to try to qualify into that. But just to make the main events was so hard. I mean, you have to get second in the heat race.
Okay.
There's 12 cars in a heat race.
Right.
And if you pill draw bad, it's just so hard.
That's what I feel like that's like half the battle right there.
Yeah.
Is like starting position. What were you going to say, bud?
And pill dropping is always annoying too.
Yeah, because I feel like you get stuck sometimes behind a car and it's like, they're running a good line and you just can't get around them at all. And you're just wanting them to make a mistake, hoping that they're going to or something,
Exactly.
Or you can find another line on the track, which is sometimes difficult because then you realize like, okay, I took this line twice and I can tell my gap is increasing between them. So I need to get back on the bottom line or whatever your line may be in order to get back up to them. So I know that that's been a frustrating thing for me watching because I feel like some of these tracks get almost single lane.
Right, yes.
And it's just hard. I know. What do you think about that, bud?
Yeah, it's smart. Like, it doesn't matter how fast you are. If you run a good line, you have a good chance at winning because you're blocking all these other cars. And then you're blocking the fast lane and you're just getting momentum on them because they're trying to run the outside trying to pass you. Yeah, it gets annoying because they're, you're faster than them and you're trying to get by them and they're holding up your line, your good line that you're trying to run, and you're trying to make up positions.
Yeah, I agree with that, yeah. It's really hard. It's definitely a skill. Like, you have to learn. If you start, like, in the back, and try to get around these guys, I mean, it's a skill to have to learn to get through traffic and read people or, it's like a game of chess.
That's a great analogy because it's like, and I think that's one of the biggest things that, it's like, be patient, but understand that if you, and I would love your input on this, but, on a 20-lap main event, if you spend more than 2 laps chasing the dude the same way, like, you got to change something up because if he's not making a mistake, I'm like, hey, find another way. Don't just hang out behind him the whole time. Like, you have to find, okay, 1 lap, all right, 2 laps, I can't do it. I need to find another line so that otherwise you're not right there. Now, I guess there's a double-edged sword to this because I would also say there's been plenty of times when we're running top 3, and he'll go to make a clean pass or, try to get on the bottom because the car went up and then the car cuts down and, and then you're like, it takes both of you out and before you know it, and I'm like,
you're black flat.
Yeah, or now you're caused a caution. Yep, starting in the back again, and it's like, man, second place would have been better than
Right.
10th
Last.
place.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I
So
agree.
that game of chess, I do think is spot on, because it's like you have to really determine when to make your move, when not to make a move. Know that if it's kind of like NASCAR, if there's 18 laps, like, do I take second place or third place, or do I just go for it and
get first place.
and yeah, so it's that like
Yes.
because we all want first,
Right.
I mean, that's why we're there. We're there to win,
Yeah.
100%. But at the same time, if you're running for points, if you're running, you're like, man, that second place finish in points is going to be better for me than a first place or a DNF.
Right.
So that chess game is super super critical. It's constantly thinking, making adjustments, and
Right.
and making moves.
Yeah,
'Cause
I
if
always
you're-
kind of race the race, like when I'm racing a 20-lap main event, I always think like if it's a game of chess. And in a game of chess, you always think a few moves ahead of everybody else. You want to try to think of further moves ahead, like on the racetrack, than the guy in front of you. So when you're catching this guy, you got to think like, okay, what's going to happen when I do catch him? Like, where am I going to go, the bottom or the top, or how am I going to go around him? So I always like play a game of chess out there, like thinking like, okay, well, I think that maybe we don't show our card yet. Like if I was going to go to the bottom, he's running top. And I think it's just like one of those things. It's like you have to really feel and trust that, believe in your car, believe in your equipment, and believe in yourself, that when you get to that position, you need to be able to make a move fast and not, stay behind him for like more than 2 laps.
So I love that you said that, like, because right there, I think that is one thing that our goal is to instill in kids, is to truly believe in themselves. I think that at a young age, you're just so moldable, and it's like it's so powerful to believe that and have the encouragement and even as a young racer to truly believe in yourself and not doubt yourself and be like, hey, I am good, I can do this, and knowing your car is set up right, and it's like, hey, I'm gonna do this, and making the move and feeling that, okay, I did it. We had a tough loss at the last race, and it was like, okay, but at the same time, what did we take away from it was you went from like 8th place up to 4th place in 7 laps and had the fastest lap of the night. So I'm like, whatever you found in yourself, that confidence, that frustration, that anger, whatever it may be, like harness that and know that you can do it when you need to do it. And that's important, I think, even adults, like, and I'm actually reading a book right now. I'm just going to throw this out there, and it's called Think and Grow Rich. But it's just how powerful the mind is if you truly put your goals in just totally. I'm drawing a blank for the word, but you're just so focused on it that it's almost impossible to not achieve it, because it's your life. It's like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm thinking it. I'm going to succeed. How can I succeed? What are the steps that I need to do in order to succeed? My small term steps, long term steps. And I think it's great. I haven't finished the book. I'm still going through it, but I like it so far. Encourage any of you guys out there, maybe on Audible, buy the real book if you like to read. But no, I think that is, something that is really, I think, the mind, and I think just having that just confidence in yourself. But I like that, because I think it's harder maybe for kids to really be thinking, okay, that far ahead, because I could see what you're saying. Like, you're riding the top, they think you're going to ride the top, so then they start coming up to the top to try to make sure you're not going to pass them at the top, and then before you know it, like, you're running down below them.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that is great. I think that is definitely great insight to that. And I've never thought of it that way. So Kaden, now we're gonna have to teach you how to play chess, like, for real.
Talking about goals, why did you start your YouTube channel, and why?
That's a good question. I love this question. So I started my YouTube channel, I think I was like 7 years old or 9 years old or something like that. And my sister started a YouTube channel, but it wasn't anything dedicated to racing at all. And I was like, I want to start one, and she helped me, get my YouTube channel going. And I started filming vlogs when I was in the pony stock, and I was like pretty little, I think I filmed a couple for her YouTube channel, but then I started making my own at like 12, I think it was. And my first ever YouTube video was, and I'm in a pony stock vlog in Frat Verona.
Okay.
And I'm just like, goofing off or whatever. But that's kind of how it all started, is just, based out of fun. It wasn't even, I didn't think it was going to turn into like, all these people like actually inspiring kids nowadays. It's truly amazing. I mean, really.
No, and I think that that's great. I mean, I think that you never truly know the intention. And I think that that's when it's the most genuine. When you start it just for, hey, I want to share with you my experiences. I mean, I know that even when we started Growing Up Garage, it was strictly just him and I working on stuff. Hey, here's what we're working on. And it was a way for me to almost like document the growth of him. Like, instead of being on pictures where we could look back and be like, oh, dude, I mean, I still look at like beginning videos of him, and he's like 4 years old in the back of my van, being like, hey, this is what I want to do to the van. I want to put gold method wheels on it.
We actually did do that for SEMA once.
Yeah, we did put the bronze method wheels on it, and it was all this guy's idea. But truly just, him and I have always just had a great time, together since he was born. And it was kind of just an easy way. Instead of being through pictures, it was like, hey, we're going to show people, hey, this is what we're doing, and we're having fun, and just father-son stuff.
Yeah, like we used to go on adventures every year for my birthday, because the Mitt 400 is the 25th of March. So every year we would go to the Mitt 400, and we'd stay the night, and we'd go to the very end of the Mitt 400.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so it was, I mean, he really loves like off-roading and trophy trucks. So it was like, it was great. And we had friends that were racing a trophy truck. So it was just such a great opportunity. I mean, I don't know how old you were, probably 7 the first time you got to ride in a trophy truck.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
We got to ride in a Fox trophy truck. So that was pretty cool.
Wow, I've never done that. That's pretty sick.
Yeah, and I mean, and they're just, the video of it, and I mean, what's crazy is he can barely, like, we put him in a booster, but he can still barely see, like, even over the
like,
dash.
I'm sitting like this, like frozen.
Yeah, frozen.
Eyes are
like,
all big.
Are you asleep?
Yeah. No, I mean, he was just, it was like speechless, literally just couldn't talk. But I think that's, I think the other opportunities that we've been able to do, and then it kind of has turned into something more as far as like our passion for now, teaching kids and having other kids, learn about tools and things of that nature. So on that note, Caden.
It is. All right. So we're going to make another half. This is
part 1 of hanging out with Michael Thing here in the attic here.
We'll take designs.
Yep. And so we're going to come back with part 2. We're going to ask him more questions that he has. And I don't know, maybe.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. We're going to be right back in just a few seconds, and see you guys in a minute.